I'm coming back in and inserting this into the podcast because the moment that I hit stop, I heard, oh, you never went back to the addiction stuff. But I talked about it in the beginning in regards to Neptune retrograde, in regards to being told that there are going to be issues coming up around addiction. What I want to say about that is if you need any bigger proof that the whole collective really is tuned in to the cosmos, really is just tuned in, uh, I have had at least 5 people that in some way, shape, or form have addiction issues where shit's hitting the fan for them right now. Shit's hitting the fan for them right now. Either they're no longer able to hide what they were trying to hide, or they're just really, actually, that is the case for every single one of them. I'm not saying this is a blanket statement. I'm saying this is my personal experience with both people in my circle and people that they know. That's I'll just say it like that, where shit's really hitting the fan. And one of the things that Aisha said in her podcast about Neptune retrograde, and it was in Mercury retrograde, and I have that wrong, but I'm almost certain it was in the Neptune podcast. But she was saying, no, hold on a minute. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's something that's come in recently, and it wasn't another podcast that I was watching where she was channeling Jesus. And for whatever reason, I'm not feeling the call to share that here. I think it's because I need to do some more energetic checking myself. I'm very, very careful about if anyone has any kind of dark energy influence or anything like that. And I haven't completely vetted this person yet, but I set an intention. I know when I'm intuitively drawn to something. And again, I'm not going to let fear keep me from it. And I always ask to only resonate and to bring into my energy the things that are God's truth, and everything else falls away. But there's this one part that she said whenever she was connecting with Jesus, that this world, what's really happening, in fact, I'm just going to ask, connect with the Jesus energy myself. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. I'm going to channel. I'm going to let it come through. What is happening on the planet right now, is there is a major upheaval in order for people to really, really look at the ways that they do not love themselves, the ways that they are in hate with themselves instead of in love with themselves. And so, what you're seeing, even with different addiction issues, it's not just in addiction issues that these things are coming up, but in different ways, you are seeing people's shit getting exposed. I'm getting that there was kind of a joke whenever they said shit, because there's this thought that, oh, he never cussed or did anything like that, and he may not have while he was living, but there's no good, there's actually like no good or no bad on the planet. It's like kind of meaning like it's neutral depending on where you get to, but yet this planet is meant to be all about love. So that's while this planet is about getting back to love of yourself. And so there's this duality present here on the planet where we have to feel not in love with ourselves to know what true love is. It's kind of like there's this country song where they say, you can't appreciate the sugar if you've never had the salt. And hold on me. That is actually why it looks like things are hitting the fan in the way that they are, besides the fact that those who have sided themselves with beings who are not of love, of beings who are not truly connected to the light of God. Of course, they are connected to God because everything is connected to God, but they are not connected to the light of God. And they have a lot of control on the planet right now. So what is happening is people are really needing to see how out of love with themselves they are in order for them to fall back in love with themselves. For falling in love with yourself, being in love with yourself, liking yourself is the first step, but liking and loving yourself is one of the most important and crucial things you can do. So that is why when Tiffany is talking about addiction, and how she's seeing the addicts around her, she's seeing what they wanted to keep private coming out. She's seeing them also act out. She's seeing this in different ways from each one. It is because of the way that they are projecting their own self-hate out onto others. And so they're also really being asked, how long are you going to project the hate of yourself onto others, and instead get into a plane, PLANE, of loving yourself? For that is available for everyone. It is available for every single soul on the planet. And we are going to have Tiffany say this out loud. We are going to start having her work on this grid that is the addict grid. For one of the things that we want to say, live here on the podcast, is that there is also on this earth, coming from beings who are not connected to light, a very purposeful making of the addict. How do you make the addict, the person that is so deep in shame and guilt and self-loathing? For do not forget, they are people too. Even if you are not an addict, you are no different from them, except that they were more susceptible to these dark energy ways. And we would also say it was within their soul path. There are some of you that it was never in any of your timelines for this particular soul journey for you to have addiction issues. Yes, you may have your issues in other ways, other addiction type of issues, like say the pandemic that's happening on the planet right now with your phones and with food. Things that addict the body, things that are purposely addictive to the body. But you know, there are many of you, for example, who have drank alcohol, and maybe you even in your teens and in your 20s drank a lot of alcohol, but you quit or greatly diminished. It is nothing. It is nothing for you. And you all, maybe some of you even tried something like cocaine, but then never tried it again. You did not have the addiction tendencies because it was not part of your soul path necessarily. And so do not forget that these addicts and these abusers, they are humans too. And they are being asked to love themselves more rather than being trapped in the hate. And so, yes, there is a very purposeful, the way we want to explain it is there is an energy grid that we're going to have Tiffany and some of her energy workers, some of her energy worker team, meaning actual humans on the planet, and of course with all of their guides, are going to start working on this grid that is what we will call for now, for simplistic terms, the addict grid. For it is very purposefully being fed. And this is why there are so many addiction issues now on the planet, is because this grid is being fed, and that is being fed from a very early age. When Tiffany was young, there were candy cigarettes to try to get the kids to smoke, but that ended up backfiring. It didn't end up actually working. But now you have drinking in kids' movies, normalizing drinking. And we are not saying that drinking in and of itself is bad, but what we are saying is drinking opens one up to dark spirits. Doesn't mean every time you have a drink, you're connecting with a dark spirit. No, it does not. But you get someone who is drinking for the wrong reasons, who is drinking because they want to forget, who is drinking because they feel guilty and they're tired of feeling that way, or who's doing other addiction tendencies, whether it be porn, or things that are even worse. Do not forget that this all comes from a space of self-loathing, and they are humans too, needing to get to self-love. And once you open yourself up, the dark energies have a place to hold on to. There are people who can release these dark energies and help these people gather pieces of themselves. Tiffany has done this with humans here on the planet. But this grid is the actual bigger umbrella issue. The actual bigger umbrella issue. the actual bigger umbrella issue. And so this is a call. This is a call. This is a call for those who wish to begin when you know the timing is right and not before, to work on this addict grid. The call is here to do it. Do not start doing it willy-nilly. Absolutely not. There's a lot of protection around this grid. There are a lot of dark forces, dark energies around this grid, a lot of very high up energies around this grid. This energy of the alcohol market specifically is a billion-dollar industry. They make a lot of money. Do not think that they don't have some very powerful wards, some very powerful dark protectors of this grid. So do not go into this willy-nilly, but if you hear this message and you are feeling the call, to begin the work of working on this addict grid, the grid that is addicting the people of America, we encourage you to do so, but do so with a highly experienced practitioner. Tiffany, for all of her experience with working with dark energies and freeing so many people from this darkness, she is not yet ready to go into this grid, and she cannot go alone. She is having to build her team. And we only told her this a day or two ago. And we are not saying she's doing this now. It might be a year from now, it might be 2 years from now. Time is not linear, but what we are saying, begin to ready yourself to work on this addiction grid. And this way you will free much of the planet very quickly, rather than going one by one by one. Rather than this, you will affect a lot of people very profoundly, very quickly. For even a lot of the homelessness is simply the dark energies getting in there and taking over. It takes a lot for a dark energy to completely take over like that, to scatter the person's consciousness so far and so wide that they don't even know themselves. They're not home in their body at all. That also can be helped. It is a combination of working on this grid and calling people's energy back to them, calling their consciousness back to them, calling the pieces of their soul back to them. That is it for this transmission. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And if you're listening and you're thinking that you are not powerful enough, that you do not know, remember, you do not start before you are ready. You do not start before you are ready. You do not need to consciously remember this. You do not need to write it down. Have it in your memory bank. Have it in your memory bank and keep it safe. And when it is ready, it will be activated again. And that is it. Thank you. Holy shit. I feel like I could break down sobbing right now. This Jesus energy is saying that it's reaching down on all of our heads right now and infusing us with love. I'm seeing all these heart emojis because that was a heavy transmission. And yet we still get to live our lives as humans. I have a decent amount of heavy transmissions that come through. Most of them are fun. Most of them are about me or about my clients, specifically like how to live life, and they're lighter. But I do have a few come in like that. And I know that I actually need not do anything other than follow my intuition and be open and receptive, and I will know when it's time. But I do really want to make it very clear, because they made it very clear to me well, it was actually last night, because there were several different things that happened with like different people that have addiction issues, that happened all in a row. Again, just people in my sphere. And I sat down and I tuned in and I asked, what am I supposed to do here? Am I supposed to work on some of these people? And there was one that their highest self said, yes, come on in. But the other ones, they're not ready yet. And so I did do some work on the one person, very, very minimal, but it was what she needed in this moment. And that's when they told me about this addiction grid that is being very purposely maintained, very purposely fed. And my first thought was, oh, okay, I'll go in, because I work on all sorts of things. I work on things for groups of people sometimes, depending on what it is. And again, they all have to, it's all in line with ethics, with my ethics of only the people whose highest selves agree, period. And making sure I'm not trying to manipulate what someone else is doing also, because if I really wanted to, I could go in energetically and I could manipulate anyone that's giving me a hard time to, like, it would be to help them heal, because that's how I potentially work. Like, okay, how can I help them heal so that they stop doing this? But that would be manipulating their actions in order to make myself feel better. So that would be a version of blaming someone else for how I'm feeling. And if you've been here long enough, you know that that's not how we play it over here. We don't blame anybody else for how we're feeling. We heal how we are feeling. And so when they were first telling me about this grid, I had this feeling in me of like, oh, okay, cool, let's just go in now. And that's when they really told me, really showed me, and they also really had me feel how dark it is and how protected it is, and how there's all this dark magic around it, in order to and they have guards and everything. Guys, this is real. As crazy as it sounds, it's real, that are trying to keep people out. And if people do get in, there are certain things that maybe it might be a curse. Maybe it might be that you all of a sudden have a group on you and you keep having all these dark energies. I had a group on me once, and it was a wild experience. I had them for a couple of weeks before I learned how to remove them. And it was just multiple reptilians, demon, just all of these things. They'd all come in and they'd all connect at once. I would feel it just whoosh all of a sudden. And no matter how many times I cleared myself, maybe I'd be clear for a few hours, maybe a day, then all of a sudden, whoosh, they'd come back again, until I learned, until I had that experience. For one thing, I needed to know how serious it is because I had accidentally, I didn't know it, but I had accidentally cleared a demon from someone that had how do I want to say the story? I will just say there are people in this world, especially higher up in politics, in movies, in music, that will sign contracts in order to get their fame, their money. And when they do, a group is automatically assigned to them. And if someone clears the reptilian, the demon, whatever their particular contract is, they will then start going after the person who did it. And I did not know that's what I was clearing on this person, because while she wasn't famous, she had a family member who is. And apparently that demon had connected into her when they were around one another. And so I accidentally just cleared that demon off of him too, not realizing it. And I had a group on me. And again, that was quite the experience of letting me know, oh, this is actually, that could have ruined my life. That could have ruined my life if I didn't know about groups and if I wasn't energetically attuned. This is something that very rarely happens, by the way. So I don't want you to think that, you've automatically got a group on you, or if you've cleared things from people, you have a group on you. No, 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 no. It's not what I'm saying. But as far as this addiction grid, that's the kind of, we we have to be very aware of our energy. We have to be very aware of how to fully protect ourselves, because I have a feeling it's different than your usual veils and cloaks, energetic veils and cloaks to make yourself invisible, or whatever it is. And I've not tuned into it. I know I'm not ready. I know I'm energetically not ready. I'm too preoccupied by other things. And I have a feeling that at some point, once I feel more stable in my soul business, that's what I can feel in my soul business when I feel more stable here, meaning like once I'm transitioned out of my the job at the law firm, and once I'm doing this full time, and I have the clients and my income stable enough where my nervous system can settle, I have a feeling that's when I'll start really working on this grid, because addiction has been, it has influenced my life from the time that I was a kid. My father had addiction issues. And so, and, I've had partners who have addiction issues. And so it's something that my soul definitely wants to see change on the planet. And so definitely do not go into this willy-nilly. Do keep it on your heart that one day you may be asked to do this, but only if it's 100% safe, and only once, like, it really feels like there needs to be a team of people who are cross-checking each other, just simply to make sure that you cannot be detected in any way, shape, or form. In any way, shape, or form. Oh my goodness. It's crazy going from an episode that felt kind of spicy and light to this is going to be a standalone episode. I thought that I was inserting it because all of a sudden, because again, I tuned in, right? I tuned in and they said, okay, you're done. And then the moment it was done, I got the message, oh, talk about addiction. And then everything came through. So this is a very important message. This is a very important standalone message. There's no way this needs to be buried in the middle of an episode. There's no way it needs to be buried. And one of the things that I also want to say is there is a part of our society that does not treat addiction with compassion. We treat it with judgment, we treat it with blame, and we also treat it with, well, why can't they just stop? Or, well, you just need to stop. I mean, I had a partner who would try to stop and would even ask me, hey, will you help me? Maybe I'll just drink twice a week. Can you help me just drink twice a week? Those things. I mean, this was the conversation that we had. I'm not saying those were the exact words, but it didn't work. And when you really dive in, you really learn about addiction, and you really learn the types of trauma that they have and the ways that they feel stuck. And then because of the things that they do within their addiction, the people they hurt, even if people don't know all the things that they do, they do. They know what they're doing. So think about yourself, whatever shame and guilt you may have, the person who is the addict, you can multiply that depending on who they are. What I keep seeing to say is by 100. You can multiply it by 100, because there's something about addiction, because not only is it the substance that has its roots in you, and I don't just mean alcohol. Substance can be porn and things that we would consider worse than alcohol and porn. But it gets its claws in, and those are also dark energy. There's dark energy attached to that. So not only do they have all the guilt and shame, but they also have these dark energies whispering in their ear. And the thing is, You don't have to seem crazy, right? You don't have to actually be hearing voices in order to have these things whispering in your ear. Don't forget, we're all telepathic. So we receive a lot of telepathy, and these beings are telepathic. So this is part of why, again, it is so important to clear out your body as much as you can, to clear out those low frequency emotions, the low frequency trauma that's stuck in your body. It may be from when you were in utero, even. You just never know. I have seen it from all over the place, but clear out. And I can like feel some energy work being done right now, helping those who, felt it, helping those who have said yes to clear out some of that. But this is part of why the inner work is so important. As we do the inner work, as we release in whatever ways it is that we release, what happens is we become a higher frequency. And as we become a higher frequency, we no longer resonate with some of the low frequency thoughts and ideas, so they can't get in the same way. Now, you can also have a practice of emptying your thoughts. This is not something I can really explain on the podcast, but there's a way to get the energy out of you and bring your energy back in. Also, thoughts, other people's thoughts. If you get someone around you who is really having negative thoughts spinning, you can catch their thoughts, because again, we're all telepathic. There's a podcast called The Telepathy Tapes. It's fascinating. It starts off that it's about children who are nonverbal autistic, who are telepathically communicating with the family, even though the family's been told they will never talk, like they're nonverbal. And honestly, for a while, I think we're probably thought of as stupid and not intelligent, which we know that's completely not true. And so I've only listened to the first, I think, 3 episodes of the Telepathy Tapes, but I have friends that I trust who are fascinated by it. So this feels done. My energy feels done. I feel a little tired. I just got done recording the last podcast episode that came out before this one. And then here I am at 27 minutes in this one. Let me just ask if is there something that has to be said before I leave? The final message when I asked is trust yourself. Trust yourself. And it takes practice. But learning to trust yourself is one of the most important things you can do. Not to trust the news, the movies, the sitcoms, the radio. No. And don't even trust all of the spiritual gurus out there, because not all of them are working for light. Especially if they're really famous. Take a moment to pause. I do have to say that there are a couple of very famous spiritual teachers who really helped me get into this. But while I still really appreciate the spiritual principles that I learned, they are not pure. They are not anymore. Neither one of these really famous people are working with the light. And so this is not meant to scare you. It's meant to empower you. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Trust your body. If something doesn't seem right, trust yourself. But pay attention to if it's an emotion that actually flares up. If so, get that emotion out, release it, and then come back to it at some point and ask again. I love you. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. If this episode spoke to you, please subscribe and leave a review so others can find this show too. Your support helps this community grow and brings more voices into the conversation. Plus, I would love to hear your biggest takeaway. Thank you so much.